Alright, well I came up to Romeo to change the gear oil in the Chevy. I got this to try this. I'll show you what I had in it. I don't think I have any here. It's an AMSOIL, but when I get back home I'll add that to the video. So I'm going to give this a try. It's a GL4. It's 4 manual transmissions. Hopefully it'll help the shift. If it doesn't, I'll pull the trans and go through it again, put another synchro clutch in it. But I brought the tools. I brought my socket to get those square plugs out, and I brought my suction gun to refill it. So let's get it cranked up. I'll let it warm up a few minutes here in the garage, and we'll take it out on the road. I'm going to let it warm up in the garage, and then we'll tend to it. Got to do some yard work, kind of. I've had nothing but wind up here, all these wind storms. It's just been nuts this year, so I got a big mess from wind. There's branches down in the yard, but the grass is a little tall where you don't see it much, but yeah, it's a mess. So anyway, we'll get the car warmed up. I'm going to take it for a ride. Alright, getting back from a ride, warming up the gearbox. I'm going to drain the gear oil out and change it. It shifted fine the whole time out. Hopefully it was just the way I was driving it, not the transmission. This transmission's the original one to the car that's in it right now. The input shaft bearing and synchronizer clutch for second was bad in it, and I had a used one from a parts car I threw in here that was in for about 20 years, and when that one second gear synchro went bad, I just found the original gearbox of this car in my dad's basement, completely rebuilt it and put it back in. And I still have the parts car one that I might just put a new synchro in and just go through it and keep it as an extra. So if I do have to have issues with this gearbox again, I can just swap them out. It was out of a 59 Biscayne, the other gearbox that I have. It was a 6-cylinder, so it's a little lower gearing in the low gear range. But we'll give it a gear lube change and see what it does. And I'm going to get it in the garage far enough here, so close the door because I'm going to do some yard work while the gear lube's draining. Let it drain for an hour or so. But yeah, it did run and shift fine. So let's I had the heater on, turn the heater off, the fan anyway. So let's give it a gear oil change. I don't know if I can hold the camera and do this at the same time, but that's the drain plug there, and the fill plug's on the side. It holds about a quart. In fact, it holds exactly a quart. So anyway, we'll get the gear oil draining out of this, and then I'll do some yard work and then come back. And it's hard doing this one-handed. Okay, there's the gear lube coming out. Well, this is the gear lube out of the gearbox. Looks pretty good. No metallic, nothing in it. The dirt that's in there just what fell in the pan from under the car. It's actually a dead bug. I got the plug back in and the fill plug out, and I use this to fill a gear case. This is a, I don't know if I can show how this works or not. Hang on a second. I don't have a tripod. Dad went out for a little while, so let me show you how this works. Okay, just unscrew the top, fill this with lubricant, and then you just squeeze it into the transmission out of this. And then this transmission will take 1 quart. So this thing takes about 3/4 of a quart, so I'll have to fill it up a second time. We'll get the gearbox filled up and go for another ride. Okay, the transmission fluid is changed, so we'll go for a little ride and see how it goes. Oh, the engine's probably still a little. got to move the pickup. You can take the keys out of these cars while they're running. You can turn them off and restart them. It's got start on off lock, so if you turn it to lock, you need the key to unlock the ignition to restart it. You can take the key out in any position but the off position. So if you want to take the key out while it's on, you can turn it to off while it's on, or you can turn it to lock, or you can start it and stop it like I just did. Kind of a neat feature. Okay, well, I took it out for about a 40-50 mile ride and all the gears seemed to do good. No gear clash. Maybe it was just the way I was shifting it that one day. But it's all good. So hopefully there's nothing wrong with the gearbox. Oops, sorry about my finger over the lens. This road's kind of rough. Thought maybe if I warmed it up thoroughly I'd see what it did. So that's why I went out for about a 40-50 mile ride and it seems just fine. So hopefully it was just me, not the car. But it does have new gear oil and it has a Redline gear oil in it now. Go up, top the tank off a little fuel here. And I have put premium in this because of the 10.5-to-1 compression ratio that the 348 has. This car has the optional turbo thrust 348 engine in it. Alright, get some accelerant in the tank. Well, Dad's still not back, but anyway, the car ran good, no issues, shifted fine. So hopefully that wasn't an issue. So gather up my tools there and head back home. Alright, this is the gear oil I had in the 59 Chevy's gearbox, 75W90 GL4. Kind of says what it's about on the back here. And this is what I got in the gearbox now, and like I say, I put quite a bit of miles on it and had no issues with it, so hopefully it's all set. That's the gearbox I took out of it. I took that out of a parts car. The 59 had the input shaft bearing was noisy. It just was noisy idling in neutral, and it was starting to get a little difficult to get into second, but I could still get it in a second. This was out of a parts car, and this I could no longer get in second gear anymore. The synchro on this is just, for the second gear, is just wiped out. So I got a new synchro clutch, so I might pull this trans apart and go through it and put a new synchro clutch in it. And then this trans will, that's the only thing wrong with this trans. It was hard to get into second. Other than that, nothing wrong with it. The one that's in the Bel Air is the original one to the car. This was, again, like I say, out of a parts car. It was in the Chevy, like I say again, a good 20, maybe 25 years. Another thing I want to talk about the gear lubes, you know, you use these GL4s because the GL5s, what they did years ago is they used just a straight 90 weight mineral oil based gear oil in the Chevy transmissions, and the additives in them to reduce friction was lead, and the lead had to be taken out of petroleum products and whatnot because of government regulation. Well, they put sulfur in place of the lead in the GL5s. Well, I don't have a GL5 here, but in GL5s, and that sulfur damages the brass synchro rings in these old transmissions. It corrodes them. So that's why you go with a GL4 instead of a GL5, is to, these have a low sulfur content and they have other additives to kind of act as a friction in the synchro to get the gears spinning the right speeds when you're in neutral, so it shifts smoothly. So if I could find some of the old gear oil, the original type gear oil new, that had the lead in it, yeah, I'd put it in the gearbox and I'd probably solve all the problems. But seeing they don't allow lead in the oils anymore, in the gear lubes or anything, that's why you end up with this problem. Now, another thing too is the API. This is SAE 7590 and this is 8090. So this is probably like a 40 weight or a 1040 motor oil. The API ratings for gear lube and motor oil are kind of different. So this is not, if you took a 90 weight motor oil and a 90 weight gear lube, the 90 weight motor oil is going to be like honey, and this will be much, the gear oil will be much thinner. So a 90 weight gear oil again is like a 40 weight engine oil. So if all else, you know, I'll just put engine oil in the gearbox, but I think that we'll just go with this and see what this does. Hopefully that takes care of it. They're both GL4s. I don't want to run a GL5 in there. I don't want to corrode the brass synchro rings from the sulfur that they put in the GL5s to replace the lead. So anyway, that's just a finish up on the gear oils in the old car. Thank you for watching my video. Hope you enjoyed it. One last note before I wrap up this video. Put over 1,000 miles on the Pontiac now, and Ray's back from up north, so I'm going to try and coordinate and meet up one day in the next week or two. So keep an eye out on the videos and try and get a video of that meeting up with Ray.